The stream
We
has
also
started now. We have to see if these platforms accept us. I'm waiting for Twitch to accept us. Twitch has accepted us. I'm waiting for YouTube to accept us. YouTube has accepted us. And now I'm waiting for Facebook to accept us.
okay.
Facebook has now accepted us. Okay, do you have your timer set, Deidre?
55.
Yeah, 55.
That's fine. Yes.
Okay, good. So when I give you the signal, you should clap your hands and then you are on the air, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Clap your hands, start the timer, and you're on the air.
Okay. Hello and welcome to Talking Peace. I am your host, Deidre Email, Executive Director of the Western New York Peace Center. And we would like to thank Richard Wicca of Think Twice Radio for producing us, and WBNY 91.3 FM for airing our show on Mondays at 1 p.m. So today we have our guest is Ms. Della Miller, and we'll be discussing food waste and economic justice tonight and, today. So thank you so much for joining us, Ms. Della.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to hear my voice around food waste. Thank you.
Yes. So I'm excited for you to be here. And before we go any further, we just want to do, just a traditional Ganyonyo, or, it's not a traditional Ganyonyo, but it's my way of saying our Thanksgiving to the universe, to Creator, for the earth, for the trees, for the living creatures, for the animals, the insects, for our herbs, for our food, for our birds. We thank you for every human being. We thank you for our planets and our stars, and we thank you for our clouds and our rain, and we thank you for our four seasons. We just want to give thanks all around and come into the space with a sense of gratitude and peace. So when we end a Thanksgiving, or when the indigenous, our Haudenosaunee brothers and sisters end, they usually say Nyahweh, and then the rest of the audience or participants will say Nyo. So Nyahweh, Nyo. Thank you. So hopefully I did justice. And if I did not, my indigenous brothers and sisters, please help to correct me, and so I can give you much respect and honor to whom it's due. So going into our topic for today, I want to give y'all I want Ms. Della to introduce herself and just give you more information about who she is and her background, and just share a little bit about yourself.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I'm Miss Della. I'm a mother of one. I have one grandson. I have a mother of one son. I have one grandson. And I basically am a food advocate for the health and well-being of the community. I'm involved with a lot of different organizations whereby it's basically around food and food injustice, and food covers a lot of different things. And one of my pet projects is food waste. I've been involved with food waste on so many different levels. Early on in my career, I was involved in different programs, and they were so wasteful of food. And it just hurt me to my heart, because I was saying there's other people in other countries that didn't have any food. So that was one of my my main project, and it still is today. In addition to that, I promote and advocate for nutrition education on all levels and the relationship or the crossroads of health and nutrition. And we have to be educated at all times for that. Also involved in projects of food preparedness, whereby when we had 514-22, we shall never forget, people didn't have access to food. And when I was brought up, we always had an emergency food box in the closet. And so I just took that, my experience from my family, and put it into a brochure so other people could start doing something like that. And it's just not for certain people. It's everyone should have a little backup of some kind. You know, you think you have the money, but if there's no stores to spend your money at, you still don't have any food. So I encourage people to have emergency food boxes. But other than that, I have a passion for cooking, sewing, and just trying to enjoy what Mother Earth has given us with the sun and the sun and the rain. I cannot include snow, but that's part of it too. But anyway, I do enjoy all of those things. Thank you.
That's wonderful, Ms. Della. And I have to share with you all, Ms. Della and I co-host another show called Growing Health on WUFO 96.5 FM with Ms. Gail Wells. And so it's just a pleasure, and I enjoy working with Ms. Della and learning a lot from her. And so looking at let's look at the values that we want to make sure, you know, we bring to the space. What values would you bring into our conversation tonight, Ms. Della? What do you want people to remember after this hour?
Well, number one, we have to appreciate food. I think we take it for granted. We have to value food. We have to be good stewards of our food, you know, meaning that you don't let it go to waste. And I know I get on myself when I put a vegetable in and it get lost in the back of the refrigerator. Oh, I feel so bad. But things do happen. But on the overall picture, if we would just take more pride and value into food, and knowing that food is important to your body, mind, and spirit. If you don't have the nutrients from your food, your body can't function. You can't make sound decisions. If you're hungry, your stomach is growling and all those kinds of things. You know, we have to learn to value and appreciate, be grateful for what we have, and try to prevent food loss and food waste, not only in our own homes, but our families. And, you know, that's part of the conversation. If you're at a family gathering or something, you know, don't put a whole bunch of food on a little baby's plate. Just give them just enough to eat and not waste it. So those are just some steps that we can take, and know that if each one does their fair share, we can have a better world.
Thank you. And I think the values I bring, you know, to this conversation as well is awareness and observation. I think that, you know, a lot of people, like you said, just put food on the plate and not really are aware how much we really need as opposed to how much we want. And like, you know, we always say our eyes are bigger than our stomach kind of thing. And that's what we do with what's left, you know, on that plate, or what's left in the refrigerator, or what's left, you know, in just in restaurants and so on. So awareness and observation, I like to bring to the table. And so I wanted to look at some statistics, which I thought was interesting in looking at a little bit at this topic, because I think about it, but I haven't thought about it as far as a world issue, or you know, I've thought about it in the case when it comes to restaurants and hospitals and, and institutions, and businesses, right?
Right.
Part of my background is I used to be a business counselor for food businesses for a shared use kitchen. So, I would have to, manage the kitchen, help people, with startup businesses, stuff like that. And also help people pass inspection, help the health inspection, and help them to understand, especially refugee, immigrant, new people, coming into Buffalo, into New York State, what the regulations were. So that was like my first introduction to, more about, like professionally about food waste and how much, like once it's done for the day or it's been served, you have to throw the rest out, or you can't, at least sell the rest of that, salad or what have you, what temperatures it had to be at, all these kinds of things. So it opened my eyes to, the regulations and red tape, to protect or to prevent, disease, right?
Exactly.
Sickness.
Exactly.
Right. So I understand that, but, like, how do we do it better? As, whether people are business owners or, they deal in the food industry in some way.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I thought was interesting. According to the EPA.gov, it says in the United States, 40% of food is lost or wasted annually, costing an estimated $218 billion. I was like, wow, or 1.3% of the GDP. Food accounts for 24% of solid waste to U.S. landfills, which are the third largest source of human-related methane emissions in the United States. So I didn't know. I didn't know, Stella.
Yeah.
No.
It's a lot to it. Just referring back to your conversation, in high school, I worked at a hospital in their kitchen, and I had exposure to them just throwing a whole pot of food away where people could have, at that time they didn't have, what they have now, where they have systems in place to take food and feed other people. But I had my first exposure was at home, because when I didn't eat the food on my plate, I sat at the table till I ate it. Or I ate it the next day. Right. So I was exposed to that. Yeah. So, working in the hospital as a teenager, it was like, oh my goodness, how can they throw this food away? And they wouldn't let you take it home. You know what I mean? They didn't understand that it could have helped somebody. But in any case, you're absolutely right. I have some statistics here that 1.3 billion tons of food is lost every year.
My God.
There was another one that 28% of global agricultural land produces food that ends up lost or wasted. I mean, these numbers are staggering. You know what I'm saying? And they're staggering being lost, but our people that are hungry is on the rise as well. So there's something wrong with this picture. Something is not working right. And that's why I have the philosophy, if we each do something towards food loss and waste, all together as a unit, we could, feed some people. Now, years ago, and I think I see it more and more now, people do not want to eat their leftovers. I do not understand that. Sometimes you might cook it today and tomorrow it tastes better. But I guess, we all got different taste buds and all of that. Yes, I tell you. And then people say, no, I don't eat leftovers. I said, yes, you do. No. And I mean, they fuss at me about it. I said, on Thanksgiving Day, that's Thanksgiving morning, what you do? You're going to eat them leftovers from Thanksgiving, and it's good.
All week long.
But a lot of food is wasted because people don't want to eat leftovers. You know what I mean? And it is sometimes hard to cook the exact amount. It's not that easy. And I understand that. But a whole meal, you're just going to like dump it because you're not eating it tomorrow. So that's one step that we can do is try to get accustomed to eating leftovers. You know what I'm saying? Because when you don't, if you continue to do this, you know, it's really hurting the country as it is, because food that's buried in the ground gives off methane, which is stronger and more harmful than carbon dioxide. So we have to. Yes, and we put it in the fields. We put it in the into dumps. You know, I wanted to make sure I said that right. Yes.
Landfills.
Yep. Yep. Rotten food in landfills produces methane, a greenhouse gas more potent / stronger than carbon dioxide. I had wrote down some of my notes on that. But this is why, you know, it hurts us in all directions, on every level. You know what I mean? And that is why we have to do something about this.
See, as a gardener, I would have expected I guess the food does, you know, break down, but because it's with other, you know, non-food items and it's not breaking directly down into the soil or buried in the soil, you know, like in composting, you know, it must, you know, it's a different process. It seems, because I would just expect that, but you know, it doesn't. I guess it's not happening the way it should, because with these landfills, they are becoming mountains and not fields. You know, we have those in the middle of Buffalo. You know, some of these hills and stuff on our landfills. You know that rolling, you know, hills and some of the natural preserves. You know, nature preserves.
Right.
That, you know, people are not aware of. And so it's just very interesting information to understand how to deal with our waste. And, you know, because we will have some waste. So what are some of the better ways of dealing with that? So do you have some ideas and concerns with so a person cooks food, right? So what are some of the first things that they should consider when preparing food for themselves or for multiple people?
Well, I think one of the first things is that we have to not overbuy food. You go to the store and you buy a lot of food, knowing you're not going to cook it within the next couple of days, and then it spoils on you. That's one of the first things that we really need to do, and I'm trying to share that with people.
Okay, isn't that like a American concept of, what is it? Abundance, to have more and not less. You know. You know, I mean, I didn't think it was a great idea, but you know, I think it's American thought.
Yes,
you know,
yes, and
it's not always better.
And it comes back to bite them, because you're losing a lot. You know what I mean? And the same way with restaurants, they do the same thing. They overbuy, they over prepare, and then they have to throw it out. So that's even before you start to prepare in a home. Just know what you're buying and buy just enough for what you need for that particular meal. And then you can go out and do other things. But right now, you know, just buy what you need, prepare it, eat it, and go from there. So if you do that, that's your number one thing, which would cut everything that follows that out, you know.
But what about for the person, I'm sorry to cut you off. What about for the person that says, hey, listen, I'm spending more gas, I'm spending more time going back and forth to the store every other day. You know, I want to, you know, buy what I need, you know, for the month. And then you know, like, weren't you just talking about food pantry items? Like, how does this all fit in together?
Well, number one, I understand about the transportation because we don't have supermarkets that are near us. But then it goes back to what we have to do. We have to be prepared and we have to preserve our food. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not talking about doing a whole day of canning or anything like that. But most people have a freezer in the refrigerator. They can blanch something and put it in the freezer if you know that you're not going to prepare it. You can cut up your zucchini and have it ready for your soup. You know, preparing or prepping your food in general is very helpful. When you first get home, just prep all your food, put it in the refrigerator. It's already ready. When you're ready to have some spaghetti, you have everything ready for the spaghetti. You got the onions, the green peppers, and all the ingredients already cut up and prepared for it. You know, if anything should happen, you can always take your food out the night before if it's frozen, or that morning when you get home from work, and then you can put it together. But we have to start somewhere. We have to find creative and innovative ways that we can not waste food. It's as plain simple as that, you know. And we need more classes in the community that whereby people can learn how to freeze their food or can it, or there's it's not a new way, but a lot of people now that are conscious and aware of food loss, they're cutting up the vegetables, they're prepping them, but they're putting them in mason jars. And when you put it in mason jars, the top seals it and will make food last longer. So you can do the mason jar method, as I call it, which I do. I have my celery and carrots already ready in the refrigerator, you know what I mean, in the mason jar, or you can freeze it. So those are your beginning steps. I could talk about this all night, but I'm just going to give you a little tidbit. Yeah, about that.
Well, we got this hour, Ms. Zella. We can go in, on it. I love using mason jars already. I do use them for my grains and my beans, and for my herbs. When I dry herbs, or when I buy dried herbs and teas, because it's definitely a difference in freshness. You know, you know, you can see the difference in the freshness, whether dried. But I never thought about it for fresh food. You know, I just you know, I do get glass, you know, Tupperware when I can. And so that, you know, would help, but I didn't think about like a regular mason jar do the same thing, you know.
Yes. I have mason jars still in the box in the hallway, because when I need one, I know I can go. Actually, I have I actually got one sitting right here on the table, right here with me. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You know, sometimes I have to make up a salad, and I can put it right in the jar. You know what I'm saying? And that's very helpful, you know, and I know that's not going to go to waste.
Yeah. Wow. I'm learning so many great things. I am so excited about this. So what do you think is, why do you think food waste is such an issue, whether locally or internationally? What do you think is happening? You know, what's going on? Why is this such an issue?
Well, one thing is food waste is causing health concerns because of the chemicals that are being dumped in the food, turns into chemicals. That's number one. Number two, I think that economics, it's working on our economics as well. You know, food is getting higher and higher, and people are wasting they're still wasting food at the same level as before prices started rising. So that's putting a strain and struggle on everyone all the way around. I think there's so many other outlying issues that you wouldn't even think about, and they're constantly doing it. So what you said about awareness is very important.
Mm.
People have to be aware and know what they're doing. Don't sit and eat a bite of an apple and throw it in the garbage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or no, they don't even throw it in the garbage. They miss the whole garbage can, just throw it on the ground. You know
That's
what I'm
true.
saying? Those are things that they do. You know what I'm saying? Or they'll eat one potato chip or two out of a bag and just throw the whole bag down. You know, I live near a school and the kids come through and they just drop their stuff. I'm saying, well, you should have ate it.
Right. But why do you think people are what is this mindset? Why do you think people have this this type of mindset nowadays? Like, I think, go ahead. I want to know what you think.
I just think that they don't have no value in it. They just take it for granted. If I buy this, I eat this, you know, I don't have to eat all because when I get home, there's a bag sitting there for me. You know, they have too much in some situations. You know what I'm saying? If a person was hungry, they'd eat that whole apple and you'd have to stop them from eating the core. You know what I mean? But now, you know, people just take it for granted. The younger the generation, I think it's being harder. They have all these TV commercials they do it on the TV commercials. They do it in the cartoons. They do it in everything. And I don't watch TikTok or some of those platforms, but they're doing it. They're doing it. And so the people look at it, young people especially, they'll look at it and say, well, they did it on TikTok. I can do it too. You know, you know, I know this isn't dealing with this particular topic, but I was looking at something on TV, on the news. It said, and I didn't have it on. I mean, I didn't have the volume up, but it said, the Food and Drug Administration said, do not do this. And they showed these people frying chicken with NyQuil.
What?
Yes. This was on ABC News. FDA said, do not do that. You know, people just do wild and crazy things, and people just continue to do wild and crazy things, and then they get wilder and more, how can I, they just don't care. They just don't care because they figure they get one and they do the other.
So they're cooking the chicken with NyQuil. So now you have a whole set of what do you call it? What do you call those things? Not tests, but what's the word? When it goes viral, everybody's doing it or will try it.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. I don't know the word, but it did go viral because it's
right. So everybody wants to try it out. So it's just a waste.
They were copycatting.
And that's one way of wasting food.
That's what I'm saying. Yep. That was very wasteful. They had two big old chicken breasts, and what I seen on TV, they were pouring the NyQuil on it. So it's like, please, people, what is wrong with you? Somebody could have at least fed 2 or 3 or 4 people with them 2 big old breasts they had in the skillet.
Wow.
So, you know, it's their attitude, it's their awareness. It's that they just don't care. Some of the things we used to do back in the day, we couldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? And if you ask them to eat a nutritious, healthy pot of beans, it's like, oh no, I don't eat that. You know what I mean? They don't know that they need that fiber. They don't know that they need that fiber.
Right.
So it's like
how to prepare you know, simple meals, you know, with beans, you know, and whole grains. That I think that's a lost information, a lost art, you know, and those kinds of things is not. I don't think it's wasted as much. And even if it does, if you have extra, those things can break down also, you know, into compost and so on much better than you know, fast foods and, you know, and prepared foods that have preservatives in it.
And you're absolutely right.
Yes, I wonder if that's part of the food waste in the landfills as well, is that they're also not as fresh, and they have preserves in it, not natural preserves, but, you know,
chemical preservatives.
That is the food isn't breaking down even as fast as it can be, you know,
Exactly.
to break down the earth.
And it could contaminate the whole compost, depending on what kind of chemicals that they're using in it. You know what I'm saying? I was telling a young lady at church on Sunday. She said, "Oh, I like those Tops cakes." She was just telling me. I said, "Have you ever read the label?" And she said, "No." I said, "Well, the last one I looked at said it had propylene glycol in it, and propylene glycol will kill you."
Wow.
She said, "What? You're absolutely right. The chemicals that are in food today, they contaminate in the compost. That's why I share with people, do your own little compost. You know what I mean? I know everybody can't do it because some people don't have those skills or the desire to do that. But if everybody did the right thing, they save their coffee grinds, they save their eggshells. You know what I mean? You save the cutoffs on your lettuce and your string beans and those kinds of things. You know that you have a healthy compost. But when you have more chemicals in the compost than you have natural foods, everything's contaminated.
Right. And usually you don't put, cooked foods or frozen or pre-prepared foods in compost. I know some communities that do, but they're in a larger farmland community and, they have, other ways of kind of breaking, cooked food down. But in the city, we're usually discouraged from putting, cooked food in compost because of rodents and, that type of thing. But we should be able to overall, like if we're, in that kind of space or a larger space and we can process it that way, our food should be able to, break down, and if it can't, then that is a big problem for us all. What are some of the other ways that what people can do to stop waste, like in their communities or in their business? Let's say going back to food businesses again. And we know, I won't say we all know, but according to the health department, some of the rules of the health department from years ago when I used to deal with them is basically if you're a caterer, and you serve the food, fresh, after so many hours it haven't been heated and it must be thrown away. So I would say
absolutely. Yes.
So what can caterers and business owners do or restaurant owners do to prevent so much waste from going into the garbage? What are some of your thoughts on that?
Well, when I look at this whole total picture, and I'm going to get to your answer.
Sure.
And I said that if we each do our own part of not wasting food, buying the amount of food that is fitting for our family, just because it's on sale does not mean that you got to buy half the stock that's in the store. Buy just enough, maybe 10% over. Because when you deal with restaurants and hospitals and caterers, and I've done all of those above, you should only prepare for 20% over what your catering job is for. If it's for 100 people, you only prepare for 110.
That's that's really good information.
Mm-hmm. Yes. When I heard that, when I was learning that at Buff State, I went there for hospitality and all of those kinds of things. And I'm saying, 20%. I said, okay. But it pans out good. Some people, if you know that you were to prepare for 100 and only 75 showed up, but you prepared for 110, just give the people a little bit more food. Otherwise, it's going to go in the garbage. And it might go in the garbage because they don't like it and don't eat it. But at least you know that you did from within your heart the right thing. You know what I
Right.
mean? You have to try and do the right thing. Now, if it goes to the next level and they do something else with it, then that's their problem. But caterers and hospitals and restaurants, they do have that problem. And it's back to, again, on the home level, on your college campuses, on your hospitals, it's overbuying and overproducing. That is the number 2 items that we have across the board. You know what I'm saying? In hospitals and restaurants, they do not recommend you to sell food that's left over from the day before. Because if they don't store properly, it can poison someone. You don't want food poisoning. You want your business in that limelight or anything like that. So, you know, in that situation, you know, it's different when you're putting smaller batches of food for leftovers in the home. You know, that's a small amount, but it could be a whole tray that might serve 50 people, but they cannot reserve that. It doesn't reach the proper temperature. You know, that meat has to be at a proper temperature, your vegetables and stuff. So those are the number 2 things that I have listed on mine.
Mm-hmm. And I've learned too, over time, you know, what places, even in the city of Buffalo, that can take cooked food, if you do have an overabundance, you know, that you donate, you know, and, you know, there's different homeless shelters along with Friends of Night people, which are, you know, places that people eat for free. Also have, it's a new organization out now called Big Big Table, which you pay what you can, you know, you give as you can, you know, that type of thing. And they use seasonal, you know, and some donated and foods. And I think, you know, having these options is great, you know, for prepared food, because I think a lot of, you know, prepared food goes to waste. You know, and fresh food, you know, as well. And what do you think about with the economy? When was it in the beginning of the COVID, you know, epidemic and everything? That first month, do you remember how they were pouring out cow's milk, and how they were?
Yes, I seen that on TV.
Farmers were literally throwing away food. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, for people that drink milk, I think that it was, as my mother would say, it was a sin and a shame to pour that milk out like that. But then again, it's a sin and a shame for those farmers to fill those cows with all kinds of chemicals to produce so much milk. You know what I mean? So it's damned if you do and damned if you don't. You know what I'm saying? But that was so wasteful. And you know, children see that. They have inquisitive and imaginative minds. The mother gives them a cup of milk and they just pour it out. Why'd you pour it out? I seen them do it on television. You know what I'm saying? So our actions, our actions carry over to other people, and they don't realize. Even these commercials, some of these commercials are terrible about food and things like that there. You know, not eating whole foods, but eating, pardon me?
Right, I'm just saying, because they want you to buy, you know.
Yeah, they want you to buy these chemical foods and not whole foods. There's no nutrition. If you produce a food, I think it's, I don't have the numbers in front of me of the temperature, but after so many degrees of cooking something, it's not considered a food, you know, because the nutritional value is not there. It's gone. And you cooked it, baked it, and messed it all up. You know, seriously. You know.
What do you think about the what people? Because you know you have food advocates on different sides of whether people eat meat or not eat meat, but as far as in regards to waste, and food consumption, what are your thoughts on that, and as far as the environment? Because I know there's different, thoughts on each side. What are your thoughts?
Okay, do you want my comment on people that eat meat or don't eat meat?
Well, yeah, like, some people say, well, if you don't eat as much, if you don't eat meat, then you're also helping with the environmental justice, right? It's less, you're not contributing to, the production of cows and everything that goes into that process of producing beef and so on. So that's less methane, that's less waste into the water systems and so on. But then of course you have people on the other side as well. Eating organically or or small produce. Like what are your thoughts on how that affects the environment, or does it?
Right. Well, there are people that are on the animal rights side, and they feel that they're protecting the animals by not using them for consumption. Then you have on the other end that if you don't consume them, it's going to be overpopulated.
Okay.
That's just on that one side.
Yeah.
But then there are people that do not partake or consume meat that feel that, number one, they're trying to save the animals. They don't like anything being killed. And then there are some people that do not eat meat for the fact that farmers give the animals chemicals to make them grow, like your chickens. There's a couple of movies out about how chickens are they're just being so cruel to them. But the cruelness in part is because that they're filling them up with chemicals and they can't even walk around because they're so heavy from the chemicals. So some people feel that the chemicals that the animal has gets into your system as well. So you have that side of it. And some people just say, I don't have a taste for meat anymore. So there's so many different levels again on how the pros and cons of meat. So I think it should be each person's personal decision as to which way they want to go. And the same thing with seafood. Seafood is so contaminated. What they say, we can't eat any fish we catch out here in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Because it's so contaminated, you know what I mean? And farmed fish is not good for you either because, the animals are used to freedom. You're going to cage them. You're going to feed them. And from what I hear from time to time on the news, that they don't even clean the bins that they're in. So they eat what they have in there, and that's not good either. So it's a personal decision. No one can make that decision but that, yourself. But know that what you do fits into your morals and scruples or your values and your goals. So that's a big topic right there. But each their own, and just know that you're doing it from a good space regarding that.
Yeah, I think it's as people make their personal decision, it's a lot of research, and awareness that has to happen. And, my husband and I talk about this all the time about, information is key. Information is key. And, like once we're aware, because we have new information about something, now we can make a better decision.
Exactly.
For the environment, for, the product or, animal or plant, that we're eating, what is the impact, and so, I just adjure everyone to make sure that, we do that and encourage each other to do that, because in this day and time, it's easy to go with, what's on social media, what's on the commercials, what's commonly being done without thinking about it, because, we're rushing, we need, it's fast food, it's quick. We don't have enough time to eat, we don't have enough time to, to think or to even digest food. And I think, the idea of waste it's a bigger picture, it's a bigger moral concept, that I think we have to change the way we're thinking, about food and nutrition and, environment and health.
Right, absolutely. And as I was thinking, as you were saying that, it's like mindless eating. You got a plate here of salad, and a vegetable and a protein, and you're looking at TV and you're just eating. And next thing you know, it's gone. Oh, I just fixed my plate. Where is it? It's mindless. And you're like on automatic steroids, and you're just eating and eating and not really taking the time to even know what you're eating. It's like the little boy told me one day, I was working at Head Start here in Erie County, and I managed 29 kitchens, food service kitchens for Head Start. And part of my job was to go to the centers and sit down with the children to eat. And the little boys, I said, I try to do a little nutrition education at the same time. We were talking about the vegetables on this plate. And I asked him, I said, well, how do you think string beans grow? He said, in a can. I said, well, why you think you sure it's in a can? He said, my mommy has it in a can. So it's like, that's all he knew. I mean, he was like 4, but that's all that he knew. He didn't know about, and I had to explain it to him that, before it got in the can, it was in the ground in a seed and blah, 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 blah. But again, that's still mindless because the mother evidently didn't even think about it enough to tell her son that, or even have a conversation. This is why I think it's so important, and this doesn't have anything to do with waste management, but we need to go back and start sitting at the table and eating together to have conversation about what is going on for their day and any other wholesome conversation that you want to do, Agreed. But nowadays everything is going so fast, so mindless. You know what I mean? You got 2 plates of food in the oven because this child had this sport and this child had that music lessons, and nobody's home at the same time to sit down and eat, and I think that even parents would get a better view of what their children are eating. Or they'll say, I put a plate in the oven. I had something to eat. Well, what did you eat? No, that's not even talked about. It's just mindless. Well, he said he's not hungry, so that's okay. You know what I'm saying? So, right. Food waste is surrounded by so many other elements that, like I said, we could talk about this for days about food waste. Yeah, it's a deeper than what we're talking about right now, because it's a global thing. It's a United States thing. It's a regional thing. It's a local thing, and then it comes into your home. So those are the levels that I'm acknowledging. And in between that is your restaurants and institutions and schools.
Right. And the prices are going up, so in all this time of purchasing so much food and so on, prices are skyrocketing. And it seems like just 10 years ago, maybe, the prices may go up per year. You'll see, maybe it's 25 cents more, what have you. Yeah. Now it seems like it's monthly. The prices just keep rising, 20 cents, 30 cents for, hey, this just, a month ago, this was $2 cheaper, and, I know it has a lot to do with the economy. It has, so-called a lot to do with, the economy getting over the whole situation with COVID. What are your thoughts on how people can save money or not being so wasteful with our monies, and how we can save and going, I guess back to your food pantry and maybe some of your gardening ideas.
Right. And you said something earlier that I thought was really good around people saving money.
Mm-hmm.
Or pricing. I think the prices were going up every week. I mean, a nickel or dime every week it was. And you know what they do? They move the food to another area. So you're looking when you finally find it, you're not looking at the price. Oh, I found it, and put it in the cart. You know what I'm saying? What they do, they move that stuff around, and then the next thing you know, you get to the counter. Well, I need it, so I gotta buy it. You know what I mean? And you take in money from Peter to pay Paul. But to your question, is that I remember coupons used to be the thing. Coupons have dwindled down to just about nothing, or they're there for you to buy things that are so what do you call processed?
Yeah.
Or there's even a level called ultra processed foods.
Really?
Yes, that's when it's not real at all. It's ultra. You know what I mean? But I was thinking that a couple of things you can do to save money to buy food is to join a food cooperative.
Yes.
Where you can buy food in different ways. Different programs have different ways of doing it. It could be the bag system. It could be that you buy what you want to buy. But you can do that. Some families I know that are trying to make ends meet, they're buying their groceries together. They'll go out to the farmer's market and buy a bushel or something, and then they'll split it. There's a little bit more work to it, but I'd rather have a little bit more money in my pocket and do a little sweat equity and know that, I have a little something extra at the end. Plus, it's fun. It's building community. You get to know your family a little bit better, or whoever you're going to do it with. So buying it in that way, I've heard of some people going and getting a Sam's membership. They said they saved money the first time that they got their Sam's or BJ's Costco memberships. So those are some things that people can do, and just buy for the whole family. You know what I'm saying? Not that each family has to get a membership, but that's one way of saving. And the other thing is planning your meals. It is so important. You'd be surprised. Planning a menu and measuring your food is so important. And I know I was a victim of that until I realized what it was. Is that when I would make a bowl of oatmeal, I just pour the oatmeal. I eat oatmeal a little differently. I just pour hot water over my oatmeal. I don't cook it. But I would just pour it in there. And then I thought about it. You need to measure it. I was eating twice as much. So measuring will save you. And my oatmeal lasted much longer, because I was measuring it out. I didn't need to eat twice as much anyway. So measuring really does save, not only on food, but even when you use your laundry detergents and things like that, measure it out. If it says you're supposed to use a cap full, don't just do one of my heavy arms and do all.
Just pour it.
So that definitely saves on that. And then, of course, growing your food is so important. I think I shared with you this summer, I bought lettuce maybe 3 times this summer, but I would cut off the ends and grow the ends of the romaine. So every 3 to 4 days, I would pick all that I could. By the time those 3 or 4 days, the next group of 3s were growing, and they just keep growing. So doing that is awesome, and growing little things like right now I have in my little container, I have 6 green peppers that, and I've already harvested a couple of them already. So now I have green peppers, and it didn't take anything because you can use your seeds from the last year's, or the last green pepper that you purchased. So there are there's some ways, and you just gave me an idea. I have to put that list together of seeds that you can use from your home to grow food, which would save money. And I think did I mention it to you that there was this young man from South LA that's an urban farmer, and he said growing your vegetables is like growing money. And as I thought about it, that makes a lot of sense, because it's growing money that you're keeping in your pocket, Right. And he was young, and young people don't want to do anything with farming, but farming was the first profession in this world, because we had to perfect the food that we were eating, in the Garden of Eden. We had to reproduce it. I mean, there wasn't a pack of seeds next to every plant in the garden, I don't think. So we had to learn to get the seeds from the apples and the seeds from whatever was there to regrow. Right. So growing is also another way of saving money. And they have the tools out here that you can get kits, and the kit might have 3 plants in it. So those are the kinds of things. They have these small greenhouses. Actually, I purchased one this year that I can put in my corner in my living room, and I'm going to grow all winter long. And they're not expensive, but at least you have some vegetables growing all year long.
Right. Well, I think I just want to thank you so much, Ms. Della, for sharing this hour with me. It went by so quickly.
Yes, it did. I was just getting warmed up.
Right. Well, we have to have a part 2, and because it is a big issue, and it covers so many different levels of dealing with our economy, dealing with
climate change.
Climate change. So it's so many things to talk about, just around, this issue and how we think about it. So I want to thank you so much for being on with me today. And remember, if you want to help save and be more aware, join a community-supported agriculture, join a food co-op, measure your food and your products, eat more fresh food, fruits and vegetables and foods.
Eat leftovers.
Eat your leftovers. I mean, storing your leftovers properly, we talked about also. And so thank you so much. And so everyone, you've been listening to Talking Peace on WBNY 91.3 FM. And also listen to us on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. And we've been Talking Peace. I am your host, Deidre Emel. And until next time, peace and love. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much.